Hello, Patriots. You know, one of the most persistent and patronizing tropes in American political discourse is the claim that supporters of the MAGA movement are uneducated, ignorant, or incapable of understanding complex political issues. This stereotype has been repeated ad nauseum in the media, academia, and Hollywood with little regard for facts or fairness. It's not only false, it's a deliberate smear that reveals more about the prejudices of those making the accusation than it does about the MAGA movement itself. Take a look at this brief montage and you'll see what I mean.
Be grossly generalistic. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Italy has seen fascism. Italy has seen these things. You guys, you understand what happens. You have seen this before. My country is in its adolescence. Adolescence is very arrogant. We haven't seen this before in our country. So Americans who don't travel, who 80% don't have a passport, who are uneducated.
To laugh at, but it's something to take seriously and to think about in terms of solving the serious problems that face the country and that face humanity today. We now have a sort of combination of different studies which tell us something that many of us suspected intuitively, and it's that on average, Trump supporters aren't that smart. And
now let's start by dismantling the core myth that MAGA supporters are uniformly uneducated. You know, this term is often used as a euphemism for lacking a college degree and ignores the obvious reality that intelligence, wisdom, and patriotism are not doled out at graduation ceremonies. Worse, it assumes that only credentialed elites are capable of forming valid political opinions, a notion both elitist and anti-democratic. The MAGA movement is not devoid of highly educated voices. In fact, it includes many individuals with advanced degrees, intellectual accomplishments, and professional achievements. For instance, Dr. Ben Carson, a world-renowned neurosurgeon and former Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under President Trump, is a product of Yale University and the University of Michigan Medical School. His story, come from poverty in Detroit to becoming one of the most accomplished surgeons in American history, is the embodiment of merit, hard work, and conservative values. Then there's Vice President J.D. Vance, author of Hillbilly Elegy and a Yale Law School graduate, who supports MAGA policies not in spite of his elite education, but because of what he's seen firsthand. The devastation wrought on working-class America by globalism, endless war, and cultural decay. And then there's the last favorite, Stephen Miller, President Trump's Deputy White House Chief of Staff for Policy, and architect of many of President Trump's immigration policies. Stephen's a Duke University graduate. You know, whether one agrees with his positions or not, to paint him as unintelligent is to ignore his razor-sharp command of policy and debate. And how about Justice Samuel Alito, a Princeton and Yale Law School graduate and member of the U.S. Supreme Court? He has echoed MAGA-aligned concerns about the erosion of constitutional freedoms, particularly when it comes to religious liberty, government overreach, and the administrative state. I'm going to throw one more in there for you. How about Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Princeton undergraduate, Harvard Graduate School? To declare that Pete is less than intelligent, it was just not true. He is a highly intelligent warrior and a MAGA supporter. You know, to dismiss these individuals and many more like them as uneducated is not only wrong, it's dishonest. On the other end of the spectrum are millions of Americans without formal degrees who support MAGA not out of ignorance, but from clear-eyed observation of the world around them. These are welders, truckers, small business owners, farmers, mechanics, and single moms who can balance a checkbook, raise a family, start a business, and see through the lies of politicians. Are they less smart because they didn't major in gender studies and take on $100,000 in student debt to be told America is evil? Hardly. These are people who understand inflation because they've watched their grocery bills double. They understand border security because they've seen their neighborhoods change overnight. They understand the value of the police because they live in places where crime is not an abstract academic theory, but a nightly reality. President Trump's ability to speak plainly, bypass the filters of elite media, and connect directly with these Americans is not evidence of his supporters' ignorance. It's proof of their discernment. They know when someone is on their side, and they know when the system is rigged against them. What this debate ultimately reveals is not a lack of intelligence among MAGA supporters, but a deep insecurity among the ruling class. The left-leaning intelligentsia cannot fathom that millions of Americans would reject their worldview, so they pathologize them instead. They call them dumb, call them racist, call them anything but wrong. But the tide is turning. More Americans of all backgrounds, educational levels, and professions are waking up to the failures of the ruling elite. Whether it's disastrous foreign wars, decaying cities, or the weaponization of the legal system, MAGA supporters are those who refuse to be gaslit into submission. They're smart, they're patriotic, and they're wide awake. And one more thing. Many of the MAGA supporters that the left has turned on used to be Democrats, but they woke up. Hey, if you found value in this video, give us a like, share it with someone, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. This really helps us with the algorithm so that we can continue to grow and get the message out.